Hello, and welcome to At His Pace. And today we are going to hit on a very important subject. It is Mental Health Month. And sorry, I just had some hair in it.
Somebody's pulling your hair?
Maybe. Stop. It is Mental Health Month, and we wanted to make sure that we discussed the aspect of mental health and marriage on this last Saturday of the month. So, first of all, I want you to understand that me and Mark are very aware that we have mental health issues. He won't admit it, like he's going to do something right now to say, you, whatever. That's part of the problem, though. Individually, I think that we expect that whatever we've been through in life has not damaged us. We think if we are successful in our jobs, if we've married and got the white picket fence in front of our house, have 2.5 children, make X amount of dollars, that everything is okay. And what I want to propose to you today is that we all have suffered from some type of trauma in our life, some type of dysfunction. Our parents, us as parents, we do the best that we can, but yet there's fallout from generations of things that have happened to us. And I would like to even propose that as African Americans and other minorities, we have this oppression and this dysfunctionality, if you will, embedded in our DNA. And so we have learned to just deal with it and to just mask it and to just keep it going. And if we've got all of these things in a row, that we're good. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. But the best thing that you can do is identify that even though you might have these successes in your life, you still have pain. You still have dysfunction as a result of it. And more than likely, if you can admit that in your life, then more than likely it is affecting your marriage in some negative way. Mark, I'd like to discuss and ask you a question. How do you think dysfunction in our marriage has shown up, and in regard to both of us and our mental health? I think we're very aware of what our mental health issues are. And I'll tell you, but go ahead. Would you like me to tell them what my mental health issues are?
Yeah, sure.
Of course. Well, I mean, firstly, I think that just being a Black woman and the hardships that come along with trying to be successful, trying to be identified as a person, trying to find your place in the world is a significant trauma, because honestly, I'm at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to priorities in this country. We might say that as Black men, but it's not. Black men still offer a commodity to this world that Black women can't, in terms of athleticism and things of that nature. And it's evident in our ability to make money and things of that nature. But anyway, so some of that is my dysfunction shows up in that. And then some of my dysfunction shows up in the fact that my parents led a very dysfunctional marriage. And my father, although he was present physically, was emotionally absent. So those two things in and of itself caused some trauma in me. Generationally, I can go back to my mother's father died very early. She was 5 years old when he died. Trauma. My grandmother was raised by her aunt and uncle because her mother died in childbirth and her father died very young. So we've got these abandonment and these rejection issues that are, I don't know, long term, I guess is the way I want to say it. Those are just to name a few of my dysfunctional issues. Okay. So I put myself out there. I've got some more, I'm sure. But all of that, I'll be done. All of that has resulted in me masking a behavior or medicating the behavior just to try to be and exist and to let the world know that I'm here and I am. Take it away, Mark. This is mental health issue.
So I think the huge challenge is definitely being able to identify. Most of the key word is most of us learn to live or learn to mask a certain level of behavior, a certain level of dysfunction, one, so that it'll never be seen because we're worried about what the shame that it may provide or a shame that you may carry because your life is that particular way. Two, we mask it because we internalize it. And so it's better for it to be protected and safeguarded, not to be exposed per se. I think the biggest effect that it has on marriage is that each individual party in the marriage is within themselves dealing with mental challenges, and to the point where you just don't know where to unload until you get to the point where you do unload and you break. And so I think just, there's a lot of tools out there. And I think, one of the things that was very helpful for us is when we got to the point where life was just presenting a lot, we sought counseling and allowed ourselves to go through a process in which we started to cleanse some of the things that we were carrying, because we realized that our Lord and Savior definitely was more concerned about that part of us than us being successful and having a white picket fence and 2 cars and children and things of that nature. He wanted to deal with us in terms of where our pain was so that he could help us heal that pain. So Mental Health Month is huge. And it seems to be the word now where everybody says, concerned about the mental makeup. But even if you just took out your dysfunction that you grew up in, just existing in this world and the decay of society and the decay of people's moral values and what's truth and what's not truth and what's acceptable and not acceptable. So many blurred lines exist in our society now where you just don't know. And so you always are cognizant of not hurting people's feelings and things of that nature. So Mental Health Month is very huge, is very, why are you looking at me like that?
Because you didn't share what your mental health issues were. And so you got me out here like I'm the only one that's got mental health issues in the
mental health, I think for me, there's always the point of, do you measure up? My mom used to always tell me I had 2 strikes against me, 1, that I was a man, and 2, that I was a Black man. And so I always had that mindset that I'm always on as a Black man. I'm always engaged. I'm always on best behavior because I don't just represent white in terms of my last name. I represent Blackness in terms of the way society views Black men. And sometimes that's a huge burden to carry. Why should I represent all of society because society's not willing to accept me as I am individually versus as I am collectively? And so, mental health, this thing can get really deep. But I think in terms of marriage, is just being able to identify where your dysfunction is, realize it, because we were even, okay, here's one of my things.
Oh, and now we get to the bottom of the Kool-Aid with the sugar is. Do tell.
Yeah. Rejection. Rejection is huge. You don't necessarily know it, but my father died in 2017. Mom just died within the last year. And so to me, that's rejection. And so how do I combat rejection? Mm-hmm. One, I internalize it and just before somebody rejects me, I'm going to withdraw myself from that situation, which doesn't allow me to be engaged as I should. One of the things that I've learned from my counseling when we started having marital issues is that emotional connectivity is important. So I've gotten better, but it helped me, as I was recurring this in my mind of my father passing, and that just triggered the whole rejection cycle all over again, even though, you could say, well, he was sick. Yeah, I understand that. But deep internal part of me views that as rejection because he's not here. And it just, my mind just kept playing over and over again every period of my life, from the 10-year-old mark when he experienced rejection from his father to the 18-year-old mark when he experienced rejection from his father, to the time after, be it the little things or great things, everything that I can identify as rejection from my earthly father, that just kept replaying over itself. And, I am my dad's son because I'm just like him in a lot of ways, good and some bad. But I realized that handling that rejection, I do it differently. And sometimes I'm trying not to emotionally withdraw, which used to be my default. But my busyness can sometimes be a place of solitude, but it's not healthy solitude. And so you always have to be cognizant of what and I don't want to say this word because we use it in society, triggers are, but you have to be aware of who you are and how you interact, and I know that I have foregone a lot of good relationships with people who wanted to engage, but emotionally I just wasn't there, and you add some other things that have transpired in my life, but I think we all experience rejection because if we're Christian, we walk that walk that Jesus did, who experienced rejection and put himself in a position. But the amazing thing is he knows what that feels like. And so if I allow myself,
preach, babe.
If I allow myself to open up and allow him to interact with me in that arena, then he can minister to my heart and he can minister to my brokenness and help me overcome that. But until I do that, then I'll continue this vicious cycle. So now that my father's gone, then any other man that may represent that same cycle, the enemy will utilize to trip me up again. So we can go on and on about mental health, but it's important. It's all yours.
Thank you. That was like, I really am not trying to, I just appreciate you as a man being able to be that vulnerable to people you don't even know that you're going to see. And I guess what I want to say is we are able to be vulnerable and share because we have owned our dysfunction. And I think that's what's happened so much in marriage. We want to say that person's crazy, that person's crazy, and what is he doing? And if he would just change, and maybe he does have the issues, but guess what? If you are living with someone who has unidentified mental health issues and you're coexisting with him and or him or her, and you're continuing to live with them in that destructive way, guess what? You need help too, because you're a codependent, and your relationship is never going to get further than the person who decides that being vulnerable is not important. And I'm not saying that every person that is functional, dysfunctional, because that's what I think Mark and I are. I realize there are more severe issues than that. But we have said to you all for years now, get some help. Stop sitting in stuff. Stop masking stuff. Stop sitting around making it, because people think we're good, that we're good. You're not. If me and Mark can sit here with all of our mess and share that with you all, then you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your spouse, and you owe it to generations to come to get some help. And stop staying in dysfunction if you don't have to. You don't have to. I think I'm done now. I just wanted to say that because I know that our issues are different.
Want to say that, but
I know, but I know our issues might be in some people's minds mild, and then they might be dealing with somebody who's bipolar or dealing with somebody that's schizophrenic. And I'm not saying that those are small issues, but I'm saying if you're sitting in that and not dealing with it and not addressing it in some way, it's your problem.
And we're closing with this. Be the labor great or small, just address it. Have communication about it, be open about it, laugh about it, grow from it, model it in front of your children, young or adult, so that they have a model of how to handle that in their lives.
Break the cycle.
It may not be about you. It maybe it'd be about the next generation. So you have to show them how to handle it. So be well, be blessed. It's Mental Health Month. we ended it with this episode, but we could definitely visit this topic again.
Be mentally well and enjoy your life. No, what are we supposed to say?
Be well, be blessed. Later.